Let me see. It is the broadcast already live? Have we been live all this time and
That'd be
nobody knew
cool.
it? it I don't know what's going on. X-Wing, you're there in the chat. Let me go into the YouTube studio
Here, well,
and see if the YouTube
yeah,
studio is telling me that we're already
it,
live.
it's probably that melon glitch. I had it last week.
Yeah, Melon is. Let's try again. No, hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, let's try again. No, it says broadcast is already. It says live. It says live. I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
what's
going. I'm
going on.
going. I'm going into it right now to see if we're actually live.
Okay, let's see.
Yes, we are live.
We are live. Oh my goodness, there's some great YouTube content right there, my friends. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
we are live.
Melon. Meg
Thumbs
says
up
we
for
are
a while.
live. You know, if Meg says it, it's definitely true.
Good thing
we're
we didn't tell
we're.
Meg what she was getting for Christmas this year.
I,
Good
I
thing we
I
didn't.
know.
We
I'm
weren't talking
lucky. I
about
didn't
that.
mention.
Spoiler: It's Cole.
I know.
It's Cole. No, I'm kidding.
No, you know, it's just 5 days until Christmas. I have a Santa appearances today, so I'm all dressed up. I'm ready to do appearances. In fact, I've got two visits tonight with some of our friends here in the YouTube community. I know Adam Douglas from Fanjecture. His family's scheduled tonight, and if I'm not wrong, my good friend Gray is scheduled for tonight as well. So we're all ready to go. Santa's ready to go, and oh my goodness, oh, it's going to be a busy week. And unfortunately, this Friday happens to be Christmas Eve, and so I will not be live streaming with Meg on Friday. There are other things happening, my friends. No, but
They ride through
but
the air. Through the air.
we're that's right. That's right. Santa's going to be busy doing the final pre-flight inspections, making sure the sleigh and the reindeer are all harnessed up. We've got all the leathers cleaned and everything's good to go. We'll be good. And you know we've got the Book of Boba Fett starts in just over a week. So we are
Yeah.
just, I think, 9 days away, if you count it that way. Depending on how you count, maybe 8.5.
How cool is that
I
for
don't know.
you? I mean, you get all you get Christmas out of the way. You got like a whole nother year of just hanging out at the North Pole, and just get to kind of put your head back and feet up and watch Boba Fett. I mean,
Boba
it's a
Fett.
pretty good
It's
post
just,
Christmas thing for you.
it's going to be Star Wars nonstop. there we go. There we go, X-Wing. Good to see you. You were first in the chat. Thank you so much. And we've
We were
got
all
Meg.
thinking it. We were all thinking it. X-wing. Trust me, we were all thinking it.
Oh my goodness. So look, there's a bit of news to discuss, and I've got some of it up here. I wasn't ready for it to be live when it went live, and then we kind of got sideways. You talked about this yesterday. Meg talked about it today, but we had some confirmation, I think, in the last trailer that came out yesterday, that these two people are indeed cast. We saw early casting rumors. You gave credit to the
The
Illuminati for that.
Illuminati actually has the character descriptions as well.
And in this article from Bespin, they're
Yeah.
saying it was 13 months ago by the direct that they were in talks. So these articles have been around for some time, and we had these character names from some time ago. We had Scad as the male, and then that appears to be this dude. And then we had a female called Drash. We had Scad and Drash. And a lot of that was speculated. Oh, they're going to be Inquisitors. You
Also,
know,
our names whenever we go out clubbing, me and Santa, Scad and Drash.
Scad and Drash.
That's what they call us that. But
That's right. That's right. Hey, Sheev the Wise, good to see you. So, yeah, this appears to be Drash. Now, in the trailer, we just see this real quick shot. And kudos, you had seen these speeder bikes a long time ago. You saw him when you were out there on site, and so here we see him now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like these were supposed to be somewhat regulars in the show.
At least, I mean, obviously, at least in one episode. And at the time that I was getting that content, it was literally for the start of Mandalorian season 3. So I know they're in the first episode, and we know that now. It's not like really like big news because they confirmed that they're only showing us the first 15 minutes or so of the episode. So with that in mind, yeah, and the thing I keep freaking out over is that it means the Naboo starfighters coming into Book of Boba Fett. That's what it
right, because you saw that as well.
I didn't see it, but I had a very, very, very good source confirm all that stuff to me, and Slave One and all that stuff. And as I looked at my notes last night, I was like, yes, everyone at the time believed it was for Mando season 3. And it was for Book of Boba, which was just masquerading as Mando season 3 at that time. So yeah, so I can confirm that the Naboo starfighter will be in Book of Boba Fett.
There we go. Yeah. You know, Santa is in full attire, and Jason, where's your elf clothes?
Oh, I actually have an elf Speedo on right now. Can I show them?
No, please don't. Oh, okay. No, please don't.
Yeah, and like I said before, I got little elf hat pasties on under my shirt. Want to see? Want to see?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, no.
I'm just a little guy.
So, look, I think it's pretty exciting to see him, and like you said, we only know. Well, we heard last week that they've only shown us in all of the trailer footage, all these TV spots. We've only seen the first half of the first episode in those bits. So, right. Ruben, please keep your elf on your shelf. Yeah, to your shelf. Yeah. Oh my goodness. X-wing. No. No.
And the lady character is an American actor from what I looked up, and but she's supposed to be British in the series. So okay, so get ready for the accent. Get ready for the American doing the English accent thing. Hopefully it's good.
Well, hopefully she does a good job of it. And I wanted to point out, Meg put this in her video too. So this is the speeder from the Solo movie. And there's the from the front end, from the back, and then this is the speeder we see in the trailer. So it's kind of has that same boxiness that the Solo speeder does, but you can clearly see difference. But the windshield there and the rest of it is very similar, and same from the back, where it's got this kind of rounded shape with the two burners on the end. And we have the same sort of shape on the back. So very, very similar, but enough difference that it feels in universe. A very good job. I think the folks designing the pieces are doing a fantastic job. And here we get the shot Mark sent us this morning. And you get this guy. As you mentioned, he's got his Bluetooth eye set, his Google goggles on. Right?
It reminds me of the I think it was laser tag commercial from the 80s. They just had like this like cool like thing on his eye, and he's like laser tag, and you're like, whoa, I need that when you're like a little boy or a little girl. And yeah, now it's in Star Wars.
Yeah, and that speeder, that I could definitely see this being a photo shoot in one of the parks, or they put one of these there. You already have the I see that. You already have the speeder bike at Disney World, where you can kind of get a photo shoot around that speeder bike. I think these will show up as well.
Yeah, that would be pretty smart. Little space Vespas.
Yes, the space Vespas, absolutely. And then this guy here, Mark was saying, who's this guy look like? And to me,
Oh, it's the
he
praying
looks like
mantis guy from the cantina, isn't it?
praying mantis guy. No,
Yeah, you know in the cantina there was like a praying mantis dude. It looks kind of like, but with arms.
Yeah, X-Wing's not wrong. That's the most Vespa swoop I've ever seen. That's true. That's true. And
they were calling them that on set. They were calling them our Vespas.
Well, they look like it. And then this guy here,
the Naboo Starfighter, just an N1. They didn't call it the Naboo Starfighter, but they did call it Slave 1 the Slave 1. For the record, they were calling it Slave 1.
Oh, there you go. And you could clearly see this guy's riding his red Vespa, but we got another guy over here. Now this guy is a third biker, if I'm accurate at all.
I think there was blue, green, red, and yellow made.
Okay, excellent. So we've got this one here. This guy here is unidentified, but this guy to me looks like a Deveron. You know, the red guys with the horns we saw in second season of Mando. It looks a lot like a Deveron to me.
Does he have the bra from Weird Science on his head? Was like, what's going on with the two things? You know,
I think that's shaved off horns. I'm not sure, right?
Okay,
like Hellboy when he has to shave down the horns, right?
Right.
At least that's what I think. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Is that Han on the right? No. no. But look, it's pretty cool stuff, and we can let this play in the background because I think by this point everybody's seen this, and I think I've got it in. Let me slow it down because it's a little easier to talk through it. And here you can see the little guy walking up the path on his way. Now, this guy here, you do hear him talk about going to see the mayor, and his heartfelt welcome. Heartfelt welcome.
Little freak.
I'm like, come on, where's your French accent, dude?
I like how she's like, keep an eye on that one.
Yeah. And she keeps an eye on everybody. Look, Finnick is fantastic. I can't wait to see more content about. And I saw, who was it? Was kind of speculating about where she was. Maybe it was Meg. Yeah. So most of this is footage we've seen before. Here's our swoop bike guy.
There it is.
Right.
Yeah, you can see it really
fancy. Right, doing a real fancy move there on his.
Upside down emoji.
Vespa.
I mean, Slave 1.
Yeah. Right.
That's what we think every time we see it.
There you go. RF Gaming Channel. Meg is Maz Kanata. They are the same height, by the way. Meg and
Kanata.
Maz. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Meg is taller than Maz. But where's the French accent of Bib Fortuna? Yeah. Good point, Meg. So, rude. Oh, that's great. That's great. So, look, we've got just over a week to go. It's coming, and I think the excitement is building for it. And I think this is the last week on Disney Plus for Hawkeye, the Marvel series. And if this is the season finale of Hawkeye, then that leads right into next week, the Book of Boba Fett. And over the weekend, Meg did a real good breakdown of Star Wars content for next year.
She did a good job.
And she did a really good job because she kind of laid out, okay, this will go from this time to that time. And then depending what we don't know, and I heard Alex and Molly talking about the 2022 schedule from Making Star Wars, or not Make It, that's you. That's
me. That's me.
Star Wars Explained. They said that they don't think we'll ever get a full schedule for 2022 at this point. We're already past Investor Day. That happened on the 10th. Kind of came and went without any fanfare at all. We were hoping that we were going to get some layout for 2022, but we got nothing. So it's kind of, when are these series going to start, and how are they going to overlap with Marvel? That's the other half of the question. If so far we've not really seen them double up on Disney Plus, where you got a Marvel and a Star Wars premiering the same night. The last time we even got close to that, Marvel was releasing on Wednesday, and Star Wars, the Bad Batch, was coming out on Friday.
Right.
That's just as they were changing their release schedule from Fridays to Wednesdays, but they kept Bad Batch running through Fridays.
And
now,
the question I have though is how long do they care about the animation in terms of the live action overlap? Because in my opinion, I care, we all care, we're all like extreme Star Wars people and we care, but I feel like the average person will watch live action and not animation. I'm curious as to how long they won't do overlap with Bad Batch. That was the only question I had after I saw Meg's videos. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm on board and I buy it. I think she's right. But the only outlier I could see is them just going, it's an animated show, and the animated shows like get a lot less views than the live action stuff, obviously, and a lot less promotion. So I'm just curious if that could be the one wild card in the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm really curious too. You make me think about something different. So let's say they stay with these Wednesday releases for both Marvel and Star Wars, and as we go into 2022, will they alternate live action and animated? So a Star Wars live action and a Marvel animated, and then a Marvel live action and a Star Wars animated.
Right.
And a lot of people, and this occurred to me as well over the weekend. We heard about this droid tail bit over a year ago, and we haven't heard anything else about it at all.
Right.
What on the face of whatever? Where did it go? I'm completely clueless.
I don't know anything about that. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. But one thing I gotta say is like the one thing I do know is that it down here in Southern California, in El Segundo and Manhattan Beach, they're expecting to make 10 things in the near future. That they're being told, we got 10 things coming for you guys. And from what I understand, it's all Star Wars based. And so it might only just be a matter of time. They might just, and I know that they want to build like a few more of those volumes down here. So it's going to be a lot of work for Southern California. So,
well, I mean,
everybody's pretty excited about that. And that's one of the reasons why I keep hearing about it, because it's going to be great for us for in terms of like the filmmaking economy. And so I have a feeling that maybe that could, I don't know, I'm not saying it's been bottlenecked, but maybe that is the bottleneck, is that they need that other volume set up, and they want to build a few of them. And maybe until those are done, maybe things are kind of like just waiting.
And it's kind of frustrating because we're going back into another wave of the pandemic.
Yes.
People, and I can tell you personally, and some of you who are on our Discord have seen a friend of mine, another person who portrays Santa here in Central Ohio, is in a coma, medically induced coma, and his health took a turn for the worse last Friday with COVID, and it's pretty bad. And we were seeing where instances are on the increase quite significantly here in the United States, and how might that affect what you just mentioned, right? Like Southern California, lots of work, which is great, but what might it do to the schedule if we end up with delays and all kinds of lockdowns again, because the more people are contracting the virus instead of getting vaccinated for the virus, and to whatever degree that the vaccinations aren't exactly 100% effective with the new variants that come out every other month or so.
I think that's a completely valid and huge question to ask, and one that we should be asking. Robert Rodriguez was saying he kept thinking during Book of Boba that they were going to be shut down. And the one thing that I can say, I mean, unless the governor here starts, actually enforcing anything or doing anything out here on this round right now, this world down here is acting like nothing, like they're acting like the pandemic's done out here. And I don't think it's going to be a very fun post Christmas coming, in my area for a lot of people here pretty soon. And and so with that in mind, I don't know if they will shut down productions, because they're not shutting anything down and they're all acting like everything's great. And they didn't shut down productions the first time. I do think when it comes to the volume filming, they are able to follow protocols that are set by the estate and keep filming going. And I think that I think that the real issues would come when it's something really big, like when they want to do pyrotechnics and they want to have like a lot of stuff. But even that's still outside. Like, it drives me crazy here. In my kids' school, they have to wear a mask all the time, which I support right now. Right now, I'm like, yes, everybody wears a mask, but when they go outside, the teachers take the mask off. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all, though. I mean, it's like going the whole day with the mask on. You might as well just not wear a mask the whole day. It's silly, and things don't make sense.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, as we've seen demonstrated over and over again. And they talk about different rules inside, outside, big room, small room, this place, that place, and it's hard to follow all those rules. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far. Right? Yeah, it's just how might it affect the production schedule when we look beyond. And Meg also brought up a really good point about Mando season 3. Look, the filming for that is done, right?
No, they're on break right now. They always start in October, and then they always go up until about a week before Christmas ish. And then it starts really slowing down, and then they come back in January, and then they kind of ramp up slowly in January usually, and then in March it's full swing, and then it goes back into wind down mode until about April. That's how it's gone for every one of these productions so far. So I think that's what I imagine it will be.
So Mando 3 has started, not finished, and we know that Ahsoka is just starting, right? Some of the pre-stuff is starting. So
people are being hired and everything right now.
Right. It doesn't fully ramp up until around the time Mando will be wrapping. Mm-hmm. So it's like one into the other. And as you mentioned, it was a really good point. Rodriguez was filming like his hair was on fire, right? Like, we've got to get this film now because we could be shut down tomorrow. Yeah. And so just hit it as hard as you can. Oh no, I didn't say that. Meg is in the chat. Sorry.
Let me write this down. Hit it as hard as you can, Santa. Words to live by.
I'm just glad she's not on the live stream, because then it would be even worse. It would be even worse.
Oh yeah, to answer Meg's question, I'd love to hear Jason's thoughts on why Book of Boba has 7 episodes. Why such an odd number when Mando season 1, 2, or 8? Are they planning something big? It's actually quite the opposite. Is that both Book of Boba Fett and Mando and Obi-Wan were both going to be conversions of outlines. Obi-Wan had a full script, and who knows what Book of Boba really had, or what Boba had as terms of being a film. Both of those films were, so what they did was they said, let's take the remaining Star Wars story films, and then let's take them over and turn them into a Star Wars series. And so it ended up being 2 episodes per act. So we were going to get 6 episodes originally. And so while people were saying outlandish things about the episode count and then assuming it would be 8 based off of Book of Boba, based off of Mandalorian, it was supposed to be 6, and they got 7 out of it. So it actually grew as opposed to being shortened. Yeah.
I see.
Regardless of what the internet says, that's the actual truth of it.
Yeah. And Mark, there's something else that's happening. that I want to bring up, and Jason alerted me to this, and then I got an email from YouTube saying as much as well. YouTube's working on their AI that picks up on music, and if it picks up a theme or a even if it's been somewhat modified, if it picks up on something that could be copyrighted, they may start tagging it and making it easier for content owners to claim against you. So, not that I'm worried about Meg content, claiming me because she's given me permission to use it. I'm more concerned that Lucasfilm would claim her and then would subsequently claim me. And so it's something I'm concerned about. And so I've been playing less of it only because of that. But I figure, you know what? Let it go. It's Christmas. If they claim it, they claim it.
I had myself claimed against my own music. I do a band called For Dracula, and I didn't claim myself, but I got claimed against playing my own music. I don't even have anything set up to do that. So who is claiming my music on my behalf?
Right. They're getting out of control, and we were talking about as the stream started against our knowledge. Here in Mellon, I still have the button at the bottom that says "Go Live," so I have no idea how we're going to end the stream today.
Oh, it doesn't end. That's the thing. It doesn't end.
Live streaming from Santa's workshop until Christmas Day. It's just going to be a 24/7 live stream that'll just continue to go. I think I'm going to have to log into the studio.
It's Rasputin the elf.
I've seen. And Matt Risman, thank you so much for that super chat. That is a very generous super chat. Thank you for that wonderful gift, and appreciate the happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you and your family as well. I was able to do some live streams some live visits over the weekend, and as I mentioned, I've got 2 of them today. So it's very exciting. Thank you so much, Matt. We truly love you, and thank you for that.
You hear the reindeers in the background getting feisty. They're ready to fly, man. Rudolph's out there like, hey, man, you thought I was trash, man. You thought you made fun of me. And then once I had this nose, then you liked me. I'm just saying, that was a little messed up, Santa.
A lot of people request puppies for Christmas. And so the puppy count here at the North Pole is up. We have extra puppies in the house, and they're running around causing
a sack full of chaos. Beagles.
Be careful what you say about sacks with Meg in the chat. I'm just
right.
I've gotten burned on that before. Jumpin' Jamie, good to see you. I made a guest appearance on one of Jumpin' Jamie's recent videos, and this afternoon I'm doing a guest appearance with Salacious Rum. If you guys are familiar with him at all, it's liable to be a little spicy. So, beware. Salacious Rum, not the same kind of content that Jumpin' Jamie does, but they both use puppets, right? They're different. So there's that.
I'm and puppeteer myself, you guys. Just saying.
I see that.
No.
and I'm on 2 podcasts this month. I've done one with our friend Zuvium, Martin Keeler, and Mark Newbold. That was a ton of fun. And that's Star Wars Spins. That's being released this week. And then Darth Elvis in the building here. Darth Elvis, we did another podcast that'll be coming out in the upcoming days as well. So it's Christmas time, my friends, and Santa is making appearances everywhere you look. So good to see you all. So I wonder if the droid tail bit might be similar to what we had with the anime bit, where it's done in between, like in the fall. So we may go from we may go from what are we thinking? Andor, and maybe get some droid content at the end of Andor before Mando 3. And Mando 3 may happen technically in 2022, like it is with the Book of Boba Fett, where it happens right at the end of the month, right? December 30th or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we roll into January, and Mando season 3 starts off 2023. It's really hard, and I thought that, oh, there we go, Darth Elvis. Thursday, this Thursday will be on Desert Planet Discs. Oh my goodness! So we'll be on that. Meg and her lies, deceit. There's another word that he uses in there. Lies. Something deceit. I need to get that on a recording and be able to push the button and make it play. Whenever Meg lies, I could just get.
I just like when he's like, "You've come to kill me." It's like on the high register.
There it is. Deception. Lies.
Deception. Lies.
Yes. Saw Gerrera. Yeah. I need to clip that Saw Gerrera line.
Yeah.
And put it on a button that I can just push anytime Meg starts, going on with her deception. I can just push it.
like 2 weeks ago, I worked for like 8 hours on this animation where I had a pizza man bringing pizza to Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
And, I was using his lines like when he opens the door to give him the pizza. And it was funny. It was okay, but I lost all the work and I was just defeated. And I said, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing it now. but it is funny to me when you just imagine hanging out with that guy, that paranoid dude.
So let's see how far we can make Borgole. He does such a great job, Saw Gerrera. Before we go on, is Saw Gerrera going to be in Andor?
He's in Andor, and I've heard that there's something else coming in terms of live action for Saw, and
really,
yeah, and I think it revolves around the partisans. So which is his gang of rebels that are not exactly the kind that go about, hope and all that stuff. But I also looking at the guys, and after I heard that, I went and watched Rogue One. Looking at Rogue One, I'm like, yeah, Two Tubes is a cool design, and I can see him being in a show. But there wasn't anybody we saw there who you could see expanding into a TV series other than Saw. So I have a feeling that maybe we'll see new people in that. And but I'm curious as to what it is and what it's going to be.
Excellent. And Meg says so is Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa. In Star Wars News Network, their podcast from today. Mm-hmm. They talk a lot about this as well, and I agree. Meg has mentioned this over and over again, and I think we have as well, that Andor is being slept on in large part. There's some of us who keep saying, don't sleep on Andor. That is going to be huge. And there's been a lot of information about Andor out there that people just aren't really keyed into. And what I suspect is as it ramps up, as you pointed out with the Grogu in Boba Fett, right? Not new news. Right, right. We heard this before. As Andor gets closer, there's going to be people running articles. Some of your usual suspects saying, "Ooh, we've got breaking news, character descriptions, plot points. We've got," and it's going to be a year-old stuff that we've been following for a long time.
Yeah. Like whenever I do anything on Andor, just no one cares yet. And it's right. But I think once they start seeing trailers for it, once they start getting a taste of what it's going to be, that's when you'll have people interested. Right now, they just haven't really publicly. If you don't follow the underside of it, then you really have no reason to care. They just haven't given any, and they don't want to. They don't need to. They're not trying to sell any of the merch for it. They're not trying to promote anything. So they don't. Well, they don't. It doesn't. They're doing what they intend to do on that front.
That's true. And some of YouTube content creators are following YouTube algorithms to be monetized. And if you're trying to make your living on YouTube, I'm not throwing any stones. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not throwing any stones at all. It's just that if it is not in the, yeah, Roland, I like to pick on Josh too, because it's fun. but at the same time, why would you? Right? If it's not going to get you caught in an algorithm, it's not going to get your video pushed out, and you can hold that and run with it when it is, then I can understand why you would do that. So look, I get it. Yes, I did get that message, Meg.
No, okay. Sorry, go on.
I did get this message. Meg gave me something really neat. Let me see. I'll go in here. I got to go back up. This is she sent some. This 1409 shows up multiple places. Where is it, Meg? I gotta find. I saw it. So it's a cell block 1409. Oh, here we go. Show the character code name. The character code name was 1409. That was Echo's designation. Echo was CT1409, right? And then 1409 also appears as, I think, that cell block destination. I saw somebody else did some math on it that this number minus that number, like taking the 14 minus 9 leaves you 7, which is the number of episodes in the Book of Boba Fett. Something like
3 plus 3 equals 6.
I don't know. There's all kinds of things being done with it, but yeah, that CT1409. Yes, I did see that.
Meg is like Dave Filoni's talking to me directly. He's putting the signs everywhere. It's in the math, Santa. It's in the math. Right?
Right. By the way, that's not a bad movie. Who is it that is in that?
Jim Carrey one?
Jim Carrey, yeah. Where he sees that, I think it's number 23. He sees it everywhere, 32, something like that, and he picks up on it everywhere. Yeah. It's not a bad Jim Carrey movie, by the way.
I look at the clock every night at 11:38. My brain said, "Hey, notice that," and then now it does it every single day.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have not seen Spider-Man. I can't see it until after Christmas because I've got so many appearances. I'm not clicking on that, Meg. I'm not clicking on it.
Meg, you're funny.
I see it. I'm not clicking on it. You can't get me this time. Oh my goodness. So no, I can't make it out to see Spider-Man. It's really tough for me because I know all the spoilers are coming out. It's a big movie. Everybody's going to see it. Everybody's talking about it, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers best I can. But it's hard just doing like this, and I go to post on Twitter, hey, we're going live today. There's Spider-Man stuff out there. and I get Discord messages from different servers that are all Spider-Man leaks, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to avoid that. But
I was gonna watch it, but then I realized it wasn't a sequel or a prequel to Return of the Jedi, and if it's not a sequel or prequel to Return of the Jedi, I won't see it.
There you go.
Sorry.
So let's get into this sequel, mentioning sequels. So we've been going through George Lucas's sequel treatments and working our way through this Wikipedia article and just adding to it content. It provides a nice framework for the discussion. And as we've gone through, we talked about the original plans that had this kind of, they really want me to help pay them for using their site.
Oh yeah,
but anyway,
worth it. But good thing to donate to. But yeah,
it's only $3. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
I just hate that I've already done it. And then they keep telling me to do it. I'm like, I already did it. Leave me alone, Wikipedia.
They still want more, another $3. I was like, if I give them $3, will they stop asking for $3?
No, they won't.
Oh,
they won't stop asking.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like the guy at McDonald's. I'll buy him a hamburger, but every time he's like, "Give me some more hamburgers." Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Then he gets mean. He gets mean sometimes. Sorry. But.
So we had the original, the kind of the treatments that he had in the late 70s, early 80s, and that got scrapped and kind of wrapped into Return of the Jedi. That's fine, and we talked a lot about that. And then we picked back up, and he kind of dusted off different ideas here and there.
Yeah.
And along the way, you would see different iterations come up. In 2012, when this is where we kind of left off the last time. We were right in this area. 2012, he had agreed to sell a company. We talked how coming out of 2011, Red Tails was released. Red Tails came out. It kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was thinking about it after our discussion the last time. I don't think that that was the impetus for make him want to sell. I think he had already started that process. You kind of asked that question, and I don't think I thought about it really well until after the stream. Mm-hmm. And it's not like Red Tails, and he's like, "Screw it, I'm throwing all of it away, and I'm out."
Right.
But I think that while he was contemplating retirement, he hadn't decided, and so he's starting to put things in place. He's starting to think about it in his head, and then Red Tails happens, and that is it's the tipping point, right? It's the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the entire weight of all of it. I think he'd already put those things in place, but yeah, that was what tripped it, right? Mm-hmm. And we see right after Red Tails, he's like, "Okay, I'm out. I've got more important things."
And Lucas was never able to conceive a child through, I don't know what you call it, natural means or whatever. He was always he was deemed infertile for most of his life, and then science caught up with George Lucas, and he was able to have a biological child, and they also went into planning that. And it's not like that happened overnight. It's not like that was just that was a big choice for him and his wife to make. And I think that a lot of that played into it as well, for what it's worth. I mean, it definitely, once they were like, well, we could take this path or this path. And as we know, Lucas is takes being a dad pretty seriously. He won't go full into movies when he's having a small child.
Well, and that really was the thing, that he wanted to focus on his marriage. He saw what happened with Marcia, right? He went through that. It's a big part of his life. And then he's got a wife. They're going to have a baby. Red Tails bombs. Well, it doesn't bomb. It gets a lot of criticism.
Yeah, and it didn't really perform. I wouldn't say, it just, It was made on the cheap, and that could work with Star Wars, but people did notice. People did notice, like, the budget on this is very low, and that was in the reviews when it came out.
Yeah, and so this is what we see a lot of energy these days about, is that Lucas, and we talked about how he was working with Kasdan, and they brought in. Oh shoot! What's his name? There were a couple of them working on it. We had Lucas, Kennedy, Kasdan, and the other dude working on it.
Michael Arndt.
Arndt. That's it. Thanks. Yeah, they were working on his sequel treatments, and we see it was early 2012. He decides, okay, I need to do something. He had lunch with Kathleen in January. In June, he names her the successor, and all of that happens. In October, he turns over his story treatments at the sale, and there's a lot of hay that's been made over what happened to that, right?
Yeah. One of the things too that's come out is that Kinberg was already at Lucasfilm at this time, working in a Lucasfilm story group on all of these productions with them too. So Michael Arndt might have had something to do with this initial stuff as well. And when you think about what Lucas was bringing to a Disney, he was going over and he was saying, I got Simon Kinberg and Michael Arndt working on Star Wars projects right now, who wants to give me $4 billion. And they're probably like, okay.
Deal. Yeah. So yeah, you guys, thank you so much in the chat for kind of pointing out. I'm terrible at saying please do the YouTube things, because YouTube does its thing, and your likes really help get videos seen. Your comments in the chat, and I mentioned this before, my live stream chats are performing way high. Like the amount of interaction we have during a live stream is way above the average on YouTube. If for this size channel, for the number of viewers we have, it is fantastic, the amount of engagement we have. But the number of likes is low, and the number of comments I get afterwards really low. And that's my fault. That's my fault. I don't mention it. And so thank you all for bringing that up. If you could, if you're watching this at some point, leave a like, leave a comment just to let us know that you've been here and that you watch the content. That would be great. That would help us out a lot. So appreciate all of that in the chat. Yes, go us. You guys are killing it in the chat. Oh, you guys are doing a great job. So look, this treatment that came out, we've seen in Iger's book where there was sort of this tacit agreement that says, yeah, we'll adapt this into the movies. And one of the things that we saw even in this article, in Lucas's own treatments for his own stories, where he starts and where he ends are two different places. It's not like he had this outline and says, oh, look at my movies. Look how they match up to the outline. It doesn't at all, right? Like, there are so many things that got retconned in the original trilogy. And many of those are very well known. Vader being Luke's dad, Leia being Luke's sister. That wasn't how it started, but that's how it ended. And that he had a sequel trilogy that he kind of brought into the original trilogy, scrapped his original sequel trilogy because he said it's done. Right? This is a 3-movie series, right? This is a trilogy. It is 3 movies. The end. There is no more Star Wars. But then he comes back and says, well, there might be more Star Wars. And we've talked about that, where there's like, there were motivations for that. And Jason, you've mentioned a couple of times, look, there was an economic crisis that happened that affected a lot of things.
Both times. I mean, the first one was he did the whole original trilogy and then got divorced in California, lost half of everything. Everything from the original trilogy at that point was Lucas, that was left over was Lucas's and Marshall Lucas's, and then half of that goes away, and then we get and then after the prequel trilogy, that wraps up, and then 3 years after, the Lucasfilm just gets taken over the coals in the 2008 financial crisis, and it didn't look great. That's what I always heard. I've even heard this from I won't say their name, but like a really, really big mouthpiece from Lucasfilm, somebody who represents them all over the place all the time. And he was just like, yeah, it was a kind of a dark time. And so they always knew that we were going back into episode 7 territory at that point. Once we got to 2008, once that started happening, it was very clear that Clone Wars wasn't going to be paying the bills, and that the recovery wasn't going to be fast enough for them to be where they were just in 2007.
And yes, and there were times where Lucasfilm and George especially were kind of floating things out there to help with the financial standing of his company.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, Star Wars is done. There's no more Star Wars. A few months or a year or so later, there's more Star Wars. We need investors. How about you give us money? And this kind of back and forth happens a couple of times in outside of just George Lucas kind of evolving his own thought process over time. There were other factors kind of pushing those things, and it was financial. I think was a really big part of it. And we saw that as. Go ahead.
I have a feeling, by the way, that if Disney hadn't bought Star Wars, if they hadn't gone that way, I think Lucas may have been looking into using Disney to pay for a lot of the Episode 7 work with a distribution deal.
Good point, and really good point, because we did see where he was going to direct Episode 7 as his sort of transition, and then hand it over to somebody else to do 8 and 9, where he kind of started it and then let it go.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. But had Red Tails performed better, maybe he would have.
Well, and he also moved away from 20th Century Fox with Clone Wars. He moved that over to like WB. So I think his relationship with Fox was a little bit like whatever at that point.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring that up as well, that one of the previous sequel treatments had him bringing Darth Maul back, Maul and Talon, right? We had seen that. We talked about that before. But when he's kind of scraps those plans, he throws it into the Clone Wars. He brings Maul back and then kills him again, right? So, had he directed 7, like, you guys, I really want to emphasize, like, there were things happening. And a lot of times Star Wars fans get the heat. Like, how Star Wars fans reacted to the prequels made him sell Lucasfilm. That's not entirely true. It is a factor for sure, because he didn't get the response he wanted, and he had to make changes based on some of the blowback he got from Phantom Menace especially. But then even the reception of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith was not what he had wanted. He took that criticism very hard. But after that, he seems to have kind of cozied back up to saying, okay, I'm going to make Episode 7. And he was kind of putting things in place, as we just said, to do 7 and then hand it off for 8 and 9. Like we said earlier, I think in 2011, he was thinking, okay, we'll do 7 and we'll start to transition this company. Red Tails happens. He's like, forget it. I'm out. I'm not going to do 7. And we're going to just transition the company. And he has lunch with Kathy. And there we go down.
It's a relationship. Excuse me. Excuse me. It's a complicated relationship. Like, why does a relationship end? It's usually not one thing. It's usually not just like one thing that happens and then all of a sudden it's over. It's usually like a combination of things. And I think for Lucas, it was a combination of things. And it's just like, and only really he can say where you put the emphasis on why. And maybe in future interviews, he'll open up more about it as time goes on. And then hopefully it's not a romanticized version of it.
Yeah. And not to gloss over again, he's married again, and he's going to have a baby. So I think in 2011 he's thinking, I can't do another trilogy.
Yeah,
I'm going to raise my daughter or my child. I'm going to focus on my marriage, but I could do 7. Right. I can do Episode 7. I've got ideas. I've got thoughts. Right. I'd like to see this, and so. He's thinking, I'm going to transition. I'll do 7. I've got a wife. I've got a kid. I'm going to raise them. I'm not going to devote 10 years. He said that's a quote where he says it takes 10 years to do a trilogy. I wasn't going to spend 10 years doing a trilogy.
Yeah.
But he also said that he was going to do 7 and then let 8 and 9 transition. And so he had kind of laid the groundwork in his head. This was going to be turned over, and then Red Tails crashes, and he's like, "Okay, I'm out." He meets with Kathy, and Jumpin' Jamie's not wrong, right? A lot of fans did not want Lucas anywhere near Star Wars again. I am in that category. I'm in that category.
Everyone was like, "Yay, it's not George Lucas," and I was like, "I hate you guys." About it, but that was the attitude. That you're right. No, you're not wrong. That is a complete like revisionist revisionist history by by people who want to make it seem like George Lucas had this trilogy locked up that lined up with whatever your personal politics are personally, and that wasn't the case. And and he definitely didn't want to. You definitely didn't want him near it. Most people didn't. That's why Mark Hamill was going out and talking about practical effects constantly. That was a tacit way of saying it's not George Lucas and his digital dooley dads, whatever that word.
Yeah. And to be honest, I am still largely of the same mind.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have minded seeing Lucas involved with 7 more, and that it started down that path, but I didn't want him to direct it. I didn't want him to be in charge of it.
Do you remember when they announced that they were talking to J.J. Abrams, and then it broke that J.J. Abrams declined and that it wouldn't be J.J. doing 7? Yeah. After that, the person who they went to was Jon Favreau.
Oh, really?
And then the J.J. thing happened, and then J.J. came back to it, and they went back to talks. And so yeah, we almost had an episode 7 by Jon Favreau and there's one alternate timeline in the multiverse where that happened.
Well, had Red Tails done better, we'd probably had Lucas do 7 and still transitioned it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lucas had got Favreau. I mean, he was already a fan of his. Yeah,
perhaps. And so for me, when I saw that Disney was buying Lucasfilm, that was a happy day for me. A really happy day for me. And for me, largely, I've been satisfied with the sequels. Not every scene, not every cut, not every storyline, but largely the story works really, really well for me. So yeah, X-Wing, could you imagine a Favreau trilogy? We can imagine. As Meg likes to point out, my least favorite Beatle, John Lennon, once said, "Could you imagine?" Right now,
it's my favorite Beatle.
Meg takes me over the coals every single time. Every single time she lights me up on that. So look. We see in he gave those over the same month in October 2012. Disney sale and production of the sequel trilogy, as well as 15 release date, were announced. And this here is, I think, the second piece that a lot of people keyed in on, that Disney said we're going to release 2015 before they had. Look, they had a treatment, they had a trilogy lined out, but that trilogy ultimately, through the creative process, was abandoned. And I don't think there was an underlying kind of dissatisfaction with Lucas's treatment. It's just, as he did himself, as you're going through the creative process, you begin writing out the actual scenes, you start writing out the script, you start writing out the screenplay, things change. And it had gotten to a point where the screenplay was so loosely connected and they were still trying to make it fit that they said, you know what, it's just not working. We're going to have to just start off of a clean slate. But this had already been set. And
it was like nobody wanted to make the movie George Lucas didn't want to make. You know, that's the one thing about it, that where, like, when I see George getting, you know, a bit feisty over it, you know, and saying things about like, oh, well, you know, they didn't take my stories. It's like, you didn't take your stories, bud. You didn't want to make your stories. You weren't motivated enough, and it was complicated and it was weird. And yeah, so it was like nobody wanted to do it. But what Disney did do that I find funny is, once they had already decided they weren't going to go with this stuff, they kept touting that, oh, we have his treatments. We have George Lucas's treatments to make consumer confidence. When they had already thrown those in the garbage.
Abandoned.
Burn at a George Lucas script burning. No.
with him in effigy. No. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So And again, per the announcement, sequel trilogy meant the end of the existing expanded universe. I want to touch base on this again because I got a comment on one of our previous episodes that Lucas had endorsed the expanded universe as being true to his stories. That's not true. It's not. It's not
No.
true. Lucasfilm had said that, right? And I keep going back. If you research it, there's some really good research articles done around it. Leland Chee was in charge of the expanded universe, and the marketing that came out of Lucasfilm said we have these tiers of canon. It's canon, but in essence, you had G canon, George's stuff, and you had stuff that's not canon. That's what it was. And you could call it whatever you wanted to call it. But if it wasn't G canon, it wasn't canon. It was a story that was consistent within itself. But George is quoted as saying, I've never read it. I don't know what's going. It's not my Star Wars. Right? He said that about the EU. And I think largely that's what he thinks of the sequels. Look, it's not my Star Wars. It belongs to Disney now. They have ownership of it. And it is their Star Wars. It is the continuation of the story. It's just not mine. And I think that's fair. But the expanded universe being decanonized is not a factual kind of telling of what actually happened. Right? Like, expanded universe was never George's canon.
It offended him when interviewers would bring up anything from it. He would just be like you could tell, like it was like giving him a headache. Like, I don't care about that licensed fan fiction. I'm cool with getting paid for. Like that was kind of like his attitude the whole time. It really was. He would get really short and just like that didn't happen. Luke didn't get married. Blah 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 blah. He didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I hate Mara Jade. Yeah,
you know,
those are things that he said, and so look, George was never on board with it being canon.
Yeah,
and you want to call it C canon, DEFG, LMNOP canon, whatever you want. That's fine. It's not mine. So the decanonization of it just meant that look, we're going to and Dave Filoni has subsequently kind of underlined that, right? To say, look, in everything that he learned from George, all his discussions with George, Dave and George never considered that stuff to be canon.
Right.
And you can find those quotes, and that's more recent. And you would find, George gave his blessing on Heir to the Empire. He more or less did, but at the same time, it wasn't his. I think Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, and what Timothy Zahn did in that, he was behind. He fully supported, more so than a lot of the EU stuff that came afterwards. But even that, he didn't borrow, like when he brought Coruscant into the prequel trilogy, that's a bit of a nod saying, nice job, Tim, but I'm changing it.
Back when we all called it Coruscant. We did. It wasn't
That's true.
Yeah, the Coruscant, the French pronunciation or whatever, that was a George Lucas twist before Episode 1.
Meg, I'll highlight this just because we're friends.
Okay. He saw Rise of Skywalker and reportedly cried, not because he was sad. He is just allergic to BS.
I highlight that just because we're friends, Meg. That's it. No, go ahead, Jason. Sorry, I interrupted.
No. There's a video of Jake Lloyd reading his lines, calling it Coruscant, and then they're like, "Oh, we changed it," and he's like, "Oh no." Like the little boy is like he's like, "Oh, it's Coruscant, okay, yeah."
And then this is funny. George again retconning himself. Always said there wasn't going to do any more, and that's true, because I'm not doing any more. Well, unless you were going to do more, then you were not going to not do more. Like,
yeah, I mean, we're like the Heir to the Empire comment, like it's a fair comment to make, obviously, but also you have to historically contextualize it. In 1991, he hadn't even written a prequel yet, let alone thinking about what happens in a trilogy after that trilogy. He doesn't. No one has that mental capacity, and he's just like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and then he changes his mind in 2011. He's got a story for 7. He's going to direct it. You can see where he's going. I'm going to make episode 7, and I'm going to hand it off somebody else to carry on 8 and 9. 2012, he sells it. Oh, we lost Jason. Wait, hold on. I got to bring him back. There. Ooh.
Melon.
Oh, Melon. Yeah. In 2011. Oh, yeah. I'm going to do or 2010. I think 2010, 2011. Yeah, I'm going to do 7. So it existed. And then in 2012, after he sold it, yeah, I always said I wasn't going to do it more, and that's true.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
Because you didn't always say that. You said it and didn't say it back and forth as you were working yourself through that process. But at one point you were going to do 7, and so that's not true.
And at one point you were selling 12. So
right. Exactly right. So it says, doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. And he talks about the one written in the 80s. Well, that one he killed himself. I don't know why he brought it up. Oh, yeah, I had sequels. Look here. I always said I wasn't going to do more. Oh, but except for in the 80s when I was going to do one. And then in the 2010s when I was going to do one. But I was never going to do one. Like, George. You're killing me, man. Like, you just make it up as you go.
One other thing, too, to remember that just as a little side note, to the earlier conversation, I keep meaning to bring this up, but Lucasfilm had a lot of fat in the company that it needed to cut and that it hadn't. Like LucasArts was just a failed game studio that they were fronting. They had all kinds of things that needed to go. And that probably also played into the whole thing of moving out of the company, because the company itself was failing on different levels as well. LucasArts itself it just made game after game that was just being shelved and failing and not connecting, or when it did get to launch, it was kind of junk. And they were, so that when Disney bought them, Disney just shut the studio down. They just said, bye, we're not going to deal with this.
Well, and again, you get revisionist history now saying, oh, why can't Lucasfilm keep making those great games that they always made? Well,
they made some great games,
history,
but they made more junk than they made great games. They made more shovelware than they made quality games overall.
Oh, it's funny you say shovelware, because how many games were buried out in the desert in Arizona or Mexico?
Like ET, the old ET thing. That's great. I love that. That's so much fun.
Great. Wait, that was a LucasArts game, right? Or am I wrong?
No, that was a different company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get here. I want to kind of get through this bit here, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay.
All right. So we got a couple bullets here. So his original. This is his first story briefing for episode 7. Some of the concepts from those briefings were a 14-year-old female Padawan named Taryn. We know that ends up being a 19-year-old scrapper named Rey, right?
Right. Actually, it goes to Kira, and then it goes to Rey. For the record.
Yeah. X-Wing, they buried more games than Rey buried lightsabers. Point. If you're keeping track, X-Wing, point.
Thea and Winky sound like some ladies that would hang out with Charles Manson. Winky Manson.
He considered Thea and Winky as potential names. So he had Taryn, Thea, Winky as he worked through, and then as you mentioned, it went to what was it right before it went to Rey? You just said
Kira.
It. Kira.
Yeah.
And then we had another teenager named Skylar, and he was protagonist. That kind of got brought in as Finn.
Hi, I'm Skylar. You might know me as Finn. Yeah, I like yachting and stormtroopering. I mean, Skylar.
But this is all normal kind of stuff, and the people that say that he just burned the Disney just burned the treatments and threw them in a scrap heap and discarded them without any kind of remorse. That's not entirely true, and I'm giving you a hard time on purpose, Jason.
No, it's fair. It's fair.
It's not entirely fair because they wanted to pay homage to him in some ways. Sure, it's entirely changed. It's not exactly the same, or even maybe true to the original thread, right? So they've changed it a bit.
Yeah,
But
it's like the methodology was just what was working from that. Okay, let's go from there. And it's like, oh, so the hero was going to be a lady. It's not, but there's really a lot going through that. Han Solo and Leia were always going to have a kid. Like these things, you could just as easily say they took it from the expanded universe as you can George Lucas's scripts in the end, right? Yeah. I mean, in the big picture, it's there, but it's very thin.
That's a fair statement as well, Jason, because look, just because you can draw lines to connect things doesn't mean that they were being necessarily true to the story. By taking Skylar, okay, we got a guy with a blaster. Yeah, that was Skylar, except Skylar was also Ben. I don't necessarily think so. But I will say the idea of Luke. Well, let's go on. The older Luke Skywalker was exiled on a remote planet. That was part of his story, and I've seen where that was drawn out more of a. There's a Vietnam era movie that it kind of references. For folks that don't follow those, what's the name of that movie?
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it was a bit of an Apocalypse Now kind of thing, and Luke Skywalker was going to be very similar to that, where he was exiled. He exiled himself. He's an old curmudgeon. He was going to start off reluctant to train, which he did, and eventually has a change of heart and agrees to train.
It's like stories are about actualization, and if you bring in a hero who is actualized, there's just no story. There's just nothing to do with the character. So you had to remove Luke. Like you literally had to make Luke different. Something had to have happened to him to make him different, or you just couldn't use the guy. There was just nothing to do. Like if he's already saved the world and he's there to save it and he's all powerful, and perfect, then you're good. So both Rian Johnson and Lucas, rightfully so, decided this has to happen, and it has to go this way. But what is interesting is that they give the credit to Luke not being in 7 and being exiled on the island to Rain Roberts. That's who Lucasfilm cites for that. So I am curious if this is as connected, is it as bold as this is projecting? Like, which narrative? These narratives don't exactly interface perfectly. Rain Roberts has the idea. We don't put him in episode 7, and we have him being a curmudgeon on an island on Octu, and we discovered him at the end of 7. Oh, it's great. That's what the credit goes. This is making it sound like that was already there. So which is it?
Well, maybe both can be true, right? Like as the story starts to unfold with JJ, right, and we've heard this before, that as JJ and Ryan were working together for what was going to happen from 7 to 8, Ryan comes back to JJ and says, "Could you tweak this and that?" Right? Because it'll line up better with where we're going. And
I know what that was. I know what that was. I had all the documents, and the thing was it was R2 and BB-8. He just needed to swap R2 and BB-8 because at the end, it was originally that it was BB-8 who was there with Rey at the end and not R2, and then
Ryan said no, we need to change that, and then there was the whole boulder lifting thing that got dropped JJ had Luke when Ray finds Luke, he's levitating a bunch of boulders, and Ryan's like, well, wait, we need to explain where Luke's been. How about we don't have him do that? And it was Ryan who said then, okay, he's cut himself off from the Force. That's why nobody knows where he's been. Otherwise, they would find him, and that began to make its way in as well.
And I honestly I think that it in the end, that decision to not use Luke in 7, it really does save 7, because look at what JJ did with introducing characters we already had. Here's Han Solo. He doesn't have the Millennium Falcon. It's kind of confusing as to why. He just doesn't, and then he just shows up out of the blue from nowhere. And then when we get to 9, oh, here's Lando. He's just running around in a tank on this planet for no reason. We don't know why. Like, he had no reason or no real good ideas about how to put the characters in. And then the only one that works is Luke, and it's because it wasn't his idea.
Right. And this is fascinating to me as well, that look, in the original trilogy, this is stuff like George Lucas did all the time, and even in the prequels he did, where he just made it up as he went. Like, why did Luke have a different, or why does Luke have a blue lightsaber or a green lightsaber instead of a blue lightsaber? Oh, I know. Lucas's quote is, I know. Well, why. I know why, and it often gets misquoted. Is it because of contrast with the sky during the whole
the Selbar?
Not true.
Isn't true?
There's a small piece of truth in that, but it's mostly not true. And there's a conversation you can read where they're saying, well, how do we explain how Luke gets his lightsaber back? And George is saying, I need Rob. Where's Rob? Because Rob's Lucas. Yeah. We'll just make up something. We'll tell them and they'll send in letters to the magazines, and we'll just have this rote response. And Kasdan says, well, how about we change the color? And George is like, oh, that's a good idea, right? So Kasdan says, let's change the color because that'll explain that he made his own. Lucas says, well, in the rote response, Lucas says, well, he made a new one. That's how he has it. It's the new one that he made, and it still had the blue saber. And you can see in a lot of the early ads for Return of the Jedi, it was still blue. And during that story discussion where they're like, well, how do we explain how he all of a sudden has one and he got his hand chopped off and it disappeared? Lucas is like, well, we can't tell the story. We're already too far down the way. We'll just make a rote response that said he made a new one. And it'll be in the magazines, and the nerds who care will get that information.
But they did film the scene of him in the cave outside of Jabba's building the new one. And it was in the original cut of Return of the Jedi when they screened it.
Yeah, they'd gotten, by the time this discussion happened, they'd gotten further down the path, and that wasn't in the story anymore. And he's like, now we can't add it back in because it doesn't allow for it. And that's when Kasdan says, well, how about it's just another color? And it's like, oh, okay, good idea. Like, the reason that it's a green lightsaber is not because, well, it doesn't contrast. Oh, no, that wasn't the reason. It was because we need to explain how Luke has a new lightsaber. He made a new lightsaber. The new one's green now. Right. And then you get this backstory stuff, being green has this significance about blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, but... In any event, that's sort of what happens, and so now people say, "Oh, it's because it contrasts with the sky." That's not really why it changed colors. Why it changed colors because Kasdan's like, we can tell that story without telling that story, right?
Yeah.
We just show them. So anyway, good stuff. So we get this stuff here. And Ryan Johnson actually helps bring in some of these elements. And then there's this stuff about Luke was going to die in episode 8 or he was going to die in episode 9. Either way, Luke was he was a goner. And then this is the part that cracks me up, right? Like Lucas had said Leia was going to be the Jedi. and then it ends up that she ends up being the one that brings balance back to the Force. She was the chosen one, and people would have lost their minds. And that's why people, again, like after the fact, going back and saying, "Oh, we really wanted this." No, had you gotten that instead and never had the sequel trilogy that we have, you would have hated it. You would have been angry at Lucas, just like you were mad at the prequels when the prequels came out, just like you were mad at Red Tails when Red Tails came out. You would have been mad at the sequels that George made because you had no other point of reference. It's easy after the fact to say, "Oh, well, yeah, we wanted this instead of that." But had it played itself out that way, you would have hated it.
Well, even look at it from a technical standpoint, in that he would have decided to push the boundaries of some new technology until it broke to see how far you could take it, like the volume, but he would have pushed it much further than where they have on the Mando series until it broke. He would have he would have found where the line was, crossed it, offended you, then said, "Okay, that's as far as we can go." Like that's how modern George Lucas worked. And that's
exactly right. That's such a good point, Jason. That is such a good point. And then this is the part here. An antagonist was going to be Darth Talon, and that was going to go off of Maul, but he had already abandoned that and killed Maul off in Rebels. And then this served a powerful master, codenamed Uber, was her driver.
Well, actually, Maul wasn't killed in Rebels. Wasn't out yet. Wasn't a thing yet. He was in Clone Wars. He was imprisoned in like a cell and left there, and we didn't know what that was going to be. And then Dark Horse did that little comic book from the episode that they didn't make, and that was like after that the transition was already happening. Though, remember that?
Right. And I see you guys being naughty in the chat. I appreciate the engagement. Right, you're helping my analytics, but you're being naughty too. I see that. I see you. At that point, people would have taken Leia over Rey. You're not wrong, Jamie. There's a lot of things people would have, in retrospect, accepted better. But listen, what people really wanted, and just by having lived then, you wanted Luke Skywalker. You got it end of Mando season 2. That's what fans wanted. They wanted Luke. They wanted expanded universe Luke Skywalker, the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, going out and absolutely thrashing whoever he wanted to thrash. Right? Like they wanted a kick butt Luke Skywalker. They wanted Legends, what is now Legends, but expanded universe Luke Skywalker. The problem is they were old. Actors are old.
They wanted Luke Skywalker to come out. There'd be like this pinata full of copies of Heir to the Empire, and Luke Skywalker just beating the crap out of the pinata. Copies of Heir to the Empire are falling all over us, and that was just never going to happen.
No, it was not. It was not.
That time had passed.
It had, and had he wanted to do that. And this is where my criticism of George Lucas kind of goes back to. I've said this before. I would have much preferred, instead of the prequels, George made the sequels with a prime Luke, Han, Leia. Right? We'd have Mark, Harrison, and Carrie in the prime of their lives when they could have done more of the work and been the heroes that people wanted to see. You wanted to see those heroes. Yeah, George decided not to give it to you.
I promise you this is real, but I don't remember who the filmmaker was. But there was a filmmaker who was down at Skywalker Ranch around the time before the cell, when Episode 7 was being developed, who said he was down there and they were trying to buy up all these likenesses of classic actors, and that they were heavily looking into the de-aging process in Hollywood. And that if they wanted to do it for ads and feature films. And I do wonder if at one point, if there was at least a small time when he was looking at, can we de-age them? And if that was going to be George Lucas's driving factor in making it at one point, and then decided we couldn't do it. It wasn't time yet. And we did see classic actors showing up in commercials after that, but that was a real thing. I want to find that article. I'm going to look for it.
Well, and I saw, when Mando season 2 was starting, my friend the Magic Maker and I were talking about, Mark Hamill had just sold his likeness to Disney, Lucasfilm. And so he didn't think we were going to see Luke Skywalker in Mando 2, but maybe in Mando 3 because Mark had just sold his likeness. And he's like, okay, they're going to use this deep fake kind of stuff, and they'll use different people, and they'll put Mark Hamill's face on it, and they'll do that in the future. And I had predicted, no, we're going to see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, and then maybe they'll do that later, but that's the case. So yeah. Meg, outside a Magic Maker, right? It sounds way more dodgy. I know.
Yeah, I think I would see the Magic Maker outside clubs. Usually, he's like, "I'm the Magic Maker. What you need?"
So we do get this kind of stuff that came in, and then Vader's castle, which Lucas had been developing, would have been involved. So, and we do get some little hint of it in Rise of Skywalker, but again, a mere shadow of what it would have been, and I think that's the case. So. Look, the sequel trilogy we got in retrospect, people want, and I just kind of want to underline that, people want Lucas's treatments. Parts of it were adapted in as sort of as I just said, like it's a mere shadow of what he had kind of outlined. Not at all, I think, reflective of his treatment, but a bit of a nod, a bit of a shadow that he cast, which is good. But at the same time, that's hindsight telling you want that. Had we gotten what he had he carried through, people would have been just as mad at the sequels as they were at the prequels. And I can tell you, because I was there, that some of this. There we go. Look here, we have a perfect timing. Let's see, did it make it into the chat? I think somebody approved it. I'll highlight it as soon as it comes up. After the fact, sure, that's what you say you wanted, and you would have said, well, this is so much better than what we got. But that's not how all of this works. That's not how any of this works.
True.
Did Santa dye his beard, or is it the lighting? I did have a lighting thing change. This is my natural color, but the lighting is different. It is white, but I'm my lighting. One of my set lights went off, and it died. I've got some lighting being installed, permanent lighting being installed, and that will fix some of it. But lighting is causing some of the problem. It's natural hair color. It's not dyed. So, and then, yes, I will be appearing. Where is it? Salacious Rum showed up in the chat, and I just don't see it coming up here in Melon yet. I will be appearing on Salacious Rum's podcast, his live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern. And Jason, you'll be going live with your sketchy friend, I assume, soon.
I will, yes. We will be on at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
12/1/2, 2 p.m. Eastern. So at the top of the hour, you've got 30 minutes to prepare. What are you and your sketchy friend talking about today?
Pretty much the stuff over the weekend, and then we pulled a bunch of making up stuff that we'll probably end up hitting on too. Awesome. Making up stuff,
Awesome. That's fantastic. So, my friends, thank you so much for being here today. Jason, as always, this was great. We will probably not be back next Monday.
Okay.
We will be back after the first of the year to pick up from this point on. And let me just show you all where we are. This is Jason Ward for you. We're on part 4, and you see where the little scroll bar is?
Nice.
Thank you, Jason. giving
you.
you content for all of 2022 as we make our way through the last half of this article. I would solicit people to there we go. I would solicit people to give us other content ideas, but we got plenty. We're good. And thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you at the top of the hour, and we will have to. We have to close off with the Mike Porter dad joke, and this
All
is
right.
really Christmas themed. This one here is. Let's see if we can get it to. Oh man. Okay, it's being no bueno. Let's
Is
see
everything
here.
broken
Let me try
today?
again.
Yeah.
Melon is broken. There it is. There we go. Why was the ornament thankful to the tree?
Why?
For letting it stay and hang around. Oh. Thank you.
Mike Porter.
Thank you so much. That was so good. And again, my friends, thank you for being here. We're not going to have our typical outro. I don't know what's going to happen next, to be honest. I'm going to hit end stream in YouTube's.
And I'm going to close my end, and we'll hope it ends.
We'll hope it ends. So, yeah, Jason, no post-stream chitter chatter,
Nope,
jibber jabber. It's just gone. We'll see what happens. Thank you all for being here. And if we don't see you again, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.